We'll call this meeting to order at 7:32 p.m. and dismiss the dialogue boxes saying the meeting is being recorded. Members of the council, you have an agenda before you. Are any changes required to the agenda? And are there any conflicts of interest for any agenda items for members here? Awfully quiet, so I'm going to assume no changes and no conflicts of interest. With that, may I please have a motion to approve the agenda as provided?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Is there any discussion of the motion to approve the agenda as presented? See no council discussion. If there are any public comments, please raise your hand or speak now. Not sure I see any members of the public in attendance. Okay, since no one is speaking, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia is absent. Councilmember Calon.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. I lost the edge of the, want to make sure there's nothing else in there. Public comments. Again, I don't see any members of the public, just council members. Are there any public comments? Are there any members of the public hiding out there? Hearing none, seeing nothing unmuted, let's go ahead and move on to legislative action items. Item number 1, introduction of emergency ordinance 2023-OR-10 regarding infrastructure acceptance at Riverdale Park Station development. Is a council member ready to introduce that emergency ordinance?
Yes. I'm trying to find the name of it. There we go. Motion to introduce OR 2023 OR 10 for the purpose of modifying the acceptance pursuant to ordinance 2023 OR 8 of certain public infrastructure in the Riverdale Park Station development.
Thank you, Councilmember Inyang. We typically do not have any discussion or debate. It's just simply introduced at this stage, but we will have time to discuss it in just a few minutes. So let's move on to legislative action item number 2. I need a motion to suspend the provision that an ordinance may not be passed at the meeting at which it is introduced. May I please have such a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Just for discussion, the town charter section 210B does not allow the simultaneous introduction and passage of an ordinance unless there's a certain set of findings. And so because we want to complete this transfer in order to meet safety plans for the Riverdale Park Station development on the infrastructure that will be transferred, then I believe that that this may meet those requirements. So does anyone, any council member wish to discuss the motion to suspend the requirement that an ordinance may not be passed at the meeting at which it is introduced?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
do we have to specify how long the suspension is for? I'm assuming it's just for this meeting.
It is just for this single ordinance and passed, in fact.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Okay, any additional council comments or questions? Any public questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote on the motion to suspend the requirement that an ordinance may not be passed at the same meeting at which it is introduced. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Calon.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. That brings us to our third legislative action item, motion to adopt emergency ordinance 2023-OR-10 regarding infrastructure acceptance at Riverdale Park Station development. Would someone like to make that motion to adopt?
So moved.
Oh, second.
I'm glad you guys worked
Good
it
to
out.
know a member from Ward 4. It's his roads.
So motion by Councilmember Inyang, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Is there discussion of the motion to adopt emergency ordinance 2023-OR-10 regarding infrastructure acceptance at Riverdale Park Station development?
I have comments, but I'd rather not delay this a second longer.
So
Seconded.
I would like to, if we could move to the image of the map, I just want to make sure that I understand a few of the details in the map. And this shouldn't take too long. Okay, scroll up just a little bit because a good example is along Tucker, sorry, not Tuckerman, Woodbury. So Woodbury has on the north side in gray sidewalks that will become property of the town of Riverdale Park, and little circles of lamp posts, which will not be transferred now. And on the south side, there's a public utility easement, the red crosshatched, that's on top of the sidewalk that's there. And just to be sure I understand, then where we have public utility easement, then we may enter to service some items that are in there, which I believe at this point is just street signs and traffic directional signs. Is that correct?
Director Lewis, can
Yeah.
you?
Sure, that's correct.
Okay. And then if you can scroll over to I forgot the parcel number, parcel G, then the sidewalks there are, just to be clear, even though I might have guessed that they were going to be in those transferred, those are just a public utility easement, and so will be continue to be controlled by Riverdale Park Station.
That's correct. I'm
Okay.
sorry, can you scroll down to the bottom of the map to make sure this is the most updated version? If you could scroll over to the left.
So it has the red
Okay,
line.
excellent. Yeah, but this isn't the latest version. Director Barnes, I believe the one that I sent you today is the most updated. But Mayor, your point is accurate.
Okay, can you tell us what the differences are between what was provided previously and what was provided today?
So previously, all of the street lights in Riverdale Park Station, except those in Bear Park, were going to transfer to the town. The revisions that have been proposed by Calford Track is to only transfer the street lights within the right of way that's conveying to the town. Fee simple would transfer to the town. So that's everything on Woodbury, for example, all of the paved roads, and on the townhouse side of the roadway, the right of way extends to the back of the sidewalk, and on the commercial side to the back of the curb. So all of the infrastructure in the right of way, as identified in the gray areas, this is the updated map, would transfer to the town. Street lights, trees, tree box, sidewalks, curb and gutter on the
Okay.
townhouse side. So within the PUE, according to this latest map, no street lights are shown as they had been in the previous map,
Okay,
indicating that those are not transferring to the town.
okay, and can we now scroll to the lower left, just so I can be sure of what's down there? Okay, so the control boxes are not transferring. The streetlights that are continue to be shown on this are transferring, and the ones that are not shown are not transferring. So
That's correct.
are picking up several. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that clarification. Just wanted to be sure I understood what was going on.
Okay.
So are there any other council questions or comments on this legislation?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
What recourse do we have if the particularly the streetlights, but any of the infrastructure that is not transferring is not being properly maintained by the developer.
Mr. Mayor, I can address that.
Please go ahead, Mr. Town Manager.
So, council member, the lights and that would be considered on private property. And the action that the mayor and council took last summer with the adoption of the new property maintenance code applies to all private property. So if poles are knocked down, missing, anything like that, we would be able to apply our code to their private property.
Outstanding. And do I read this map correctly that the retention pond that potentially has fish in it is not transferring, unfortunately?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
You're going to try to reduce the number of fish in there if possible. Councilmember Enyang, do you have a comment or
I'm
question?
here to help.
I do. The with this new change, could we actually go over to like parcel G? And so the light poles. Okay, so the light poles, I believe there are 2 light poles that are down now that have been hit and need to be replaced. I think one is above, I guess, lot 60 below parcel G. That one actually is broken. And then I think there's another one on Wells Run. And so that's still, if it's in gray, the town is taking it over, correct? And
That's
so,
correct. Mhm.
and then so are these light poles like in storage somewhere to be put up, or we were told like for the last year or so, supply chain issues, then the transfer, and so there's been this like uncertainty about when are these light poles going to be fixed. I just want to know if do we have these light poles sitting around somewhere, or does it have to be sort of acquired somehow?
Well, neither Calvert Track or DPW has streetlights at this point. The inventory we had was used on 54th Avenue. The developer will owe us those streetlights after transfer.
Okay.
They owe it now, but I did hear from the property manager about 2 weeks ago that her pole had not been delivered and she wasn't sure when it would be. And so at whatever time it's delivered, they owe that to the town.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, if we get our inventory first, we'll go ahead and install the streetlights there and expect that they'll reimburse us with the streetlight they ultimately receive.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Lewis, is it fair or accurate to presume that we have that agreement, that portion of the agreement in writing?
I believe we do, just in written communication between us and them. We completed or had our on-call engineer complete an infrastructure assessment report. And we presented it to the developer. They have made all of the improvements or corrections, repairs that were identified, except for these streetlights, because they haven't been able to get the inventory.
Gotcha. I mean, I definitely don't want to hold this up when we investigate that. But given what happened at the previous 11th hour, yeah, I take your word that we have that in, communications that we have archived. But if we could just take a cursory or whatever look to ensure we're covered there, I would appreciate it.
Okay. I believe we are, but I will follow up.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional council questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, this might be a little bit of an obvious question, but I just want to make sure that I get an answer to it. Being that they are maintaining the responsibility for the poles, the property owner, that is, that means they are responsible for payments to Pepco for the electricity used, correct?
That's correct, sir.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Any additional council questions or comments? I still don't see any obvious members of the public, but are there any public questions or comments? Seeing no indication, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
I still don't see Councilmember Mejia, Councilmember Kellon.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. Wow, it's been a long time coming. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a motion to authorize the town manager to sign an agreement with Mead and Hunt, an amount not to exceed $80,086 for engineering of the 54th Place Pocket Park and Tot Lot Project, CIP 22 PW04. Someone like to make the motion to authorize the town manager?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Inyang. Is there any council discussion of this motion? Okay, are there any public comments? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember
Lingua,
Lingua,
that would be me. Or shall I say that would be I?
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Kellon.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. That brings us to legislative action item number 5, a motion to adopt resolution 2023-R-14 regarding suspension of competitive bid requirements for the trolley trail lighting project, CIP 20 PP03. Would someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Inyang. Is there council discussion of this motion?
Mr. Mayor, my only question is that this is a one-off unique thing in terms of the need to sort of suspend the bidding. This hasn't happened before and just,
Oh, this has been happening a bit. We didn't used to have problems with this, but during the worst of the pandemic, then we just quit getting bids for some of our projects, which is highly unusual. We almost always got multiple bids prior to that. And so in order to get the 54th Avenue project done, then we hired this contractor and managed the project ourselves, more or less. And that was successful. And so the town center trolley trail streetlights, this one segment of them has been problematic for quite a while. And so we are just seeking to finish that project out in the same way we did the 54th. I am hopeful that we will at some point in the future start getting regular bids on these. It's really highly unusual to not get any.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I just add to that?
Please.
The only thing I would add for the mayor and council is that staff do not take making such requests lightly. And I believe, and Director Lewis, correct me if I'm misstating here, but I believe that the lighting projects are the only ones that we have not received bids on. I point towards the road projects, the sidewalk projects, the municipal center projects. We receive several bids on each one of those. This is quite unique for us in our outreach and through eMaryland Marketplace to not receive bids. And the last thing I will say is that the balance of this work is to be funded by remaining bond bill money. It's money from the state. And that money has an expiration of June of '24. And so we think it's in the town's best interest to get this moving this fall, this late summer and fall. And as opposed to risking a process next spring and not being able to get the money moved.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. And having walked this area recently, I can say that the lights are, I believe, needed for public safety. So I think it meets the intent of the suspension.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilmember Kalan.
Yeah. All the time we're talking about project. Okay, this project that we are talking about, since
Councilmember Kalan, we seem to have lost your voice. I can't hear you anyway. Your microphone looks like it's on, but I can't hear you. Can someone move just so I can make sure it's not my network that, okay, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Councilmember Kalan, if you can hear me, I would suggest either calling in or disconnecting. It looks like he disconnected. I would suggest that we recess in place for approximately 2 minutes to give him a little bit of time to return. Does that sound okay?
2 meters? That's under a nanosecond.
I understand that, council member. I misspoke. 2 minutes.
Fine with me.
Being here in NIST, man, I mean,
I occasionally, when speaking, use the wrong units.
oh, that's okay, Mr. Mayor. Even Sinatra had to clear his throat, so.
Looks like Councilmember Kalan has rejoined us.
Yeah, the computer was having trouble at the internet.
Understood. Okay, so you're asking about the history of the project or the status of the project? I couldn't, I don't know where you were heading.
Yeah, what I'm saying, the project, we are talking about project, we don't know how much it costs, how much the contractor are charging. We are just there to adopt and approve. We don't know how much the contractor are charging for this project. So I think that is very important for us to know how many this project cost and how much they pay the people, or they bid for it, or we don't know. So that's the only way, that's the only side I'm confused about.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please go ahead, Mr. Town Manager.
So we have approximately $84,000 left of the bond funds. We first needed the council to suspend competitive bidding for us to even solicit the contractor. So if we run into a problem and the contractor comes back and there's insufficient funds, then we would return to the council. If it's in the neighborhood of 84,000, we would move forward.
Does that satisfy your, or answer your question, Councilmember Callan?
He said 84,000 left in the budget. Is that not so?
There's $84,000 left in the budget. So this is the last part of a larger project.
Yeah, but
so-
in the past, did they indicate to us that this project cost either is $10 or $20 or $5 or $15? We never get no view of that. That's what I'm saying. So any project, they have to tell us this project costs so amount. The contractors or the bidders, they said they're going to do this project for so amount. You see, that's very important so that you can know. Because, oh, this project costs so amount, this costs so amount. That's what I'm saying.
I understand. And Mr. Town Manager, there will be another stage where we vote. Is that correct? Where we will approve the expenditure of the funds?
Once we have a proposal, sir.
So we are not voting to spend any money here. We are voting to allow the town manager to
No,
find.
I'm just saying, if they can start to brief us about that, that is good for us.
Well, certainly, but at this point, we don't know what the subcontractor, since we're going to be, the town itself will be the main contractor, what the subcontractor is going to give us as a price. And before the town can start negotiating that, then this piece of legislation has to pass.
Okay, that's just a head up. Let them know that,
Understood. And
Yeah.
and I understand your concern. It's before we spend this amount of money, then we do want to be aware of the amount and
okay.
how the process works. So thank you for
Okay.
your comment.
Mhm.
Any additional council questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, just briefly, want to say I really do appreciate Councilmember Cologne's diligence, and I think maybe we on the that have been on the council for so long, such as myself with my one other term, partial term, might take for granted that our staff is so thorough, and then we can expect them to, cross all the T's and dot all the I's here and get back to us. So just want to thank the staff for their thoroughness on this and everything that we do.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. I agree. Any additional council questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote to adopt resolution 2023-R-14 regarding suspension of competitive bid requirements for the Charlie Trail Lighting Project, starting with Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. Next item on the legislative action items is motion to authorize the town manager to sign a change order with Pannoni regarding CIP 20DS06 for a municipal parking lot and the amount of $22,801. I'm going to ask the town manager to our staff to brief us on this before moving ahead. Can staff do that?
Yes, sir. Director Lewis, do you want to proceed?
Sure, yes, thank you. In April, the council authorized the town manager to sign a task order agreement with Panoni to design the municipal center parking lot at the 5,000 and 5,002 Queensberry properties for an amount not to exceed $78,330, reflecting a contingency of about 11%. This change order will increase engineering costs above that not to exceed amount by $22,801. The increase covers additional county permitting requirements that were not anticipated when the task order contract was signed, including the preparation of a natural resource inventory, tree conservation report, and Chesapeake Bay critical area report. They're required to do an erosion and sediment control design, make a determination of floodplain limits and a waiver. And the DPI staff informed the engineer that a state waterway permit might be required because the property is located in the floodplain. The increase also uncovers the $3,000 permit fee. And funds are available in the CIP FY24 budget to cover this increase.
Thank you, Director Lewis. May I please have a motion to authorize the town manager to sign a change order to the Panoni task order contract for engineering services?
So moved.
Second.
Second the motion.
So the motion was Councilmember Lingua. I did not, couldn't figure out in the babble who made the second. Can someone?
Second the motion, Calon, for the Calon.
Okay, Councilmember Callan seconded the motion. Is there council discussion of this motion? All that enthusiasm for seconding it, I thought somebody would want to talk about it. Okay, if there's no discussion, any public comment? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang?
Aye.
It does not appear Councilmember Mejia has arrived. Councilmember Cahalan?
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. That gets us through legislative action items and brings us to new business. Are there any items of new business? Calling once, calling twice. Okay, move on to unfinished business. There's one item, update on 6601 Baltimore Avenue. I presume this is a staff update.
Yes, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to share first, Mr. Mayor, so.
I do not. As I reported to the council in email, I met 1 week ago today with Councilmember Eric Olson from the county, a member of the board of the College Park Academy, State Senator Jim Rosapep, and Councilmember Ivy, and we discussed the project and the fact that both the College Park Academy and the town of Riverville Park have some interest in this parcel. And I think it was apparent to everyone there that the town is a bit more interested, a bit further along in our interest than College Park Academy is. We were asked by the congressman to see if there was some way we might have shared use of the space. And I believe that the town staff have been working with College Park Academy staff to set up a meeting. I don't know if that's happened yet or not. And that's all that I know of at this time.
And that's a good segue, Mr. Mayor, if I could. Ms. Barnes, can I share my screen, please? At least I believed I had it. Give me a moment. My apologies for the delay.
You're building suspense.
It's not my specialty here. some reason, I'm not seeing it. Let me go here. It's on my internet screen. So I should be able to click back, hit shared and see it. There it is. Okay. So as the mayor mentioned, staff are working to meet with folks from College Park Academy. And we have that meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Members of the staff leadership team will join me to meet with members of College Park Academy, their executive director, and I believe 1 or 2 of their board members. So wanted to take a minute to just kind of recap what we're talking about here and what we're going to share. Staff are giving this project a working name of Riverdale Park Community and Municipal Center, believing that aligns with what the mayor and council have said in terms of the 3 broad areas. Stormwater management, huge concern, community, and that brings connectivity to the trolley trail, to the amenities, Riverdale Park Station, to the broader town, and then future municipal use. And that ties into the town is expected to grow. We put in the budget book that where the active pipeline looks like 800 plus units over the next several years. And that's not including the over 11-acre site at Riverside Shopping Center along Kenilworth, which is expected to be redeveloped with the purple line. So just wanted to share, this is just a concept. If everyone can see what the layout looks like. Staff have worked to identify future uses of the building that are consistent with the community use as well as future town use. And so there's some aspirational things here in terms of when you get to the second level. It would be good at some point if the town had a video production studio, a place with, we receive franchise fees that can be used for that, for producing video. We have a head-in for a cable channel. There's lots of potential here to be thinking big and broadly. And so these are just some conceptual uses that the town staff have come up with. If the council chose to relocate the municipal organization, if you will, town hall government. And this does not include the garages that would house the larger equipment that we have. Right now, most of the town's equipment sits outside. I would say all of our town equipment actually sits outside. We do manage to put some of the salt spreaders in some of the bays, but most of the bays are used for storage. There's very little storage space in the current configuration that we have. And a matter of fact, the leadership team would tell you that most of their offices double as storage space as they have boxes stacked up around their desk. The building sounds large at just under 28,000 square feet, 27.5. But when you start plugging in uses, all of a sudden it's not that large of a space, especially looking at having community rooms on both the first and second floor. And so sharing this tonight, we'll add it to the Dropbox, we'll email it out to the mayor and council. And I'm looking for feedback, direction, input, whatever that the council would like to provide to the staff team in reference to this.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have to geek out on something real quick. I'd just like to endorse the town manager's recommendation on the TV studio. I've tried to get employers of mine to do what he's talking about. And basically, like, anytime you watch the news and somebody is in remote and it has like John F. Kennedy School of Government or whatever behind them, and not like the network logo, there's a studio that has this system set up where they get paid for that person using that space. We have a significant number of people within a short distance of our town that, you know, just being where we are outside the nation's capital, end up doing those hits. So that could be a what's the term? Has the potential to be a not insignificant revenue generator for the town. So yeah, I know this is all notional at this point, but that has me really excited.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. We do have to pay attention to the regulations that govern what fees we charge for things, but I think that we could certainly offset some of the costs of that and the maintenance costs for it with the fees we charge for such activities. But we want to make sure that it was always available for town use, should that be needed.
And Mr. Mayor, may I add a response to Councilmember Smith?
Sure.
And so when I was in Hagerstown, one of our projects I was most proud of was we created a television studio. And so we went from having a PowerPoint presentation on the cable channel, which we currently have in Riverdale Park, to actually having programming. And there's a lot that this council or future councils could do to even look into a public channel and providing space for members of the community to even produce content in terms of public access.
Mr. Lorstition, I am available anytime you want to have a conversation about public access cable.
Councilmember Smith and I could be the next Wayne's World. That would be amazing.
Okay,
Mr.
Mr. Town Manager, what you're saying is that this document will be shared with the council and people should think about it and provide feedback, discuss internally, and let you know if there are additional ideas or thoughts.
Yes, and my plan, since we're public with this tonight, is to also share this with College Park Academy tomorrow, to let them know that this is more than a stormwater management project. While the council hasn't decided on exact uses, these are draft uses or potential utilization of the future Riverdale Park community and municipal center.
I think that that's great. Councilmember Foe, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Lorstition, I want to thank you and staff for putting this together so quickly. Mr. Mayor, for your quick actions. I feel like we are in the ballgame. I love looking at these individual pictures. I love looking that we have ideas moving forward. I know that staff has already thought of this. I just want to reiterate this. Community meeting rooms, I think, are incredible ideas. I want to make sure that they're facilitated with amenities similar to a classroom that allow continuation of the work that we're already trying to do and maybe build even more into it. We've been talking for a long time about the inadequacies of our town hall. We are space limited and our staff performs miracles in that space. Looking at these potential uses is tremendously exciting, especially when you pair it with the idea of converting 4 acres potentially into beautiful marshlands with walkways. Tremendous work. The visuals are tremendous. I just want to say thank you for, again, putting us in a remarkable position. Thank you.
I am pleased that the staff worked with external contractors so quickly to get a lot of this done. It's been really amazing. I agree.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Smith put in the chat, the water retention facility should be stocked with fish. So that allow another amenity for town residents. It's sort of like a food forest except underwater, right?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Okay. Any additional council comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have two questions. One, could we just go to the second floor? Okay, so the town council large meeting area, I'm assuming is that building currently now just like a two-story building that would be hollowed out, or is it, okay, really tall?
It's a two-story building that has a large high bay room, so it's actually 2 stories tall, and the top of it is empty.
Well, and there's no plan to, I'm not showing where we're dividing the council chambers into 2. The council chambers here, a large meeting room. I believe the mayor's 100% correct. If you wanted to divide that and have two levels, you probably could. The second floor is actually above this section.
Yeah.
The building. And not above the council chambers.
Got it. Yep, you answered my question. The other question is around the new construction. What I don't know I'm curious what a Sally Port is. And then holding cells. Does the current sort of police department have holding cells now? Is this like a current use, or this is like a need that's been ongoing that this is an opportunity to address it?
So we currently have holding cells. And typically when individuals are arrested, they are brought to the station for processing. And we can process folks much more quickly before taking them to DOC or to the court commissioner. We can return the officers to the street much more quickly by going through this process. And a Sally Port, think of a Sally Port as an entrance to the dog park. You have 2 gates. You go through one, and one closes before the other opens. And so a Sally Port provides a secured area. They would be able to drive a police vehicle into there. The door closes, and before an interior door to the secured facility is open, the garage door for the vehicle would have to be closed.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. I didn't know there was a name for that. And then, and that being said, is there any other or thoughts or opportunities for sort of new construction? I don't have anything in mind particularly, but I'm assuming the idea is to sort of refurbish the existing physical footprint as opposed to building new stuff as much as possible. I'm assuming that's like a driving factor behind this, or is anything open?
Well, I think that is the driving factor, and looking at sustainability and reuse of infrastructure instead of demolition and building new. And so that's how staff has been looking at it. I have not priced new construction. Renovation right now, you could probably renovate in the $200 per square. And so you're looking at a 5.5 project to renovate. I think it'd probably be larger if you were to build.
Thank you.
Any additional council questions or comments?
Do we have any, there's other slides on here too. And is there any like exterior like renderings or thoughts in terms of how the building would sort of present, since it is on like Route 1? Right now it's a very small sign on a
Yes,
brick building.
The only other slides here are the renderings that we had sent out.
Okay.
But this is a work in progress. So we will get a rendering of the front of the building and show what the possibilities are there. And one thing that the council is going to, if all this were to align and the town were to acquire it and the council identifies similar uses, one of the things that would have to be discussed would be parking. How much parking do we need? And knowing that we want to have this space here, is there an opportunity to utilize spaces in the parking deck in Riverdale Park Station if there were larger events? When you look at connectivity, could there be a pathway that leads up to Riverdale Park Station, some sort of a walkway? You're only about 1,000 feet from the parking deck, I believe. Most site selectors will tell you that people will walk about 1,500 feet to their destination.
Got it.
Councilmember Smith, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Lustitian's comment about how much parking provide just gave me a thought. Again, I know these are sort of super preliminary notional renderings of a vision essentially. But when if we do get the chance to move forward on this, I'd like to see some area to facilitate mass transit for an improved bus stop, essentially making it easy for people to not drive to the municipal center when they need to be there. And then hopefully that could cut down on the amount of parking we have and the amount of cars we have driving.
Sounds good. If you, Mr. Town Manager, you can scroll to the first slide, the plan view. First rendering. You can see that there's plenty of space for a bus to turn in off of Baltimore Avenue with the existing driveway up there. I just think it's not configured very well for that. I think that turn is a little bit sharp, but there's plenty of space to put a bus in there. No question.
Be fantastic, and folks from RPS could walk down to it, and even University Park folks. It could be great.
Okay, very good. Any additional council questions or comments on this document that will be shared with College Park Academy members tomorrow, representatives?
Just one, I think it's and the comments are great. This is fantastic, and I'm very much aware of there's no room for anything else besides this on the land. We kind of use it all up, and so just would encourage town staff as they think about it, as they share this. I don't really the green area and sort of like that, what we're looking at above the retention pond. I'm not sure how big that is. I'm sure at some point someone may say, well, can we put a school there? And so it'd just be helpful to, have an understanding of what the downstream implications of that would be. We don't have that on the ready, but I'm sure,
So I'm ready to jump in. So the part that's closest to Wells Run, so the upper left of the screen, we anticipate that area, well, all the way over to the Public Works garage. We anticipate that to be wet a lot of the time, but not all the time, perhaps not all the time. And the part that is on the bottom, that's the larger area, is going to be filled with water when it floods. And so that will be when you have these events that would have been 100-year events or 500-year events, then that will be the place that mostly fills up and then slowly drains out over the course of a couple of days. And so we can't put anything there that is going to be there during a flood. Conceivably, we could have some event parking down in there, have a ramp down, and people could drive down for event parking or something like that. But we can't have any activity in there, or it would, remove 3/4 of the space that will be used during the flood events. And Mr. Town Manager, if you could go to this next image, I think there's a little bit of a glimmer of water in that area. Yeah, you can see that this rendering has some standing water in there. And so that's the idea, is that when we have a big flood event, that it will crest over the pathway and fill up that area and then slowly drain out, rather than flooding the neighborhood that's on that's to the south.
All right, well, that's the $1 million question. So I'm glad you have glad you have an answer for it.
I think it may be more than 1 million, but yes.
Well, more.
True, very true.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just add, I think that the council and the community understand the concerns that we have about our current location. We have an elementary school across the street, and Public Works basically shuts down every day during school while school is being let out, because we have children basically walking through our Public Works yard. We have the police department making custodial arrest and bringing people back to our building there. So I think generally, in addition to space constraints, if the town were to relocate its operations there, staff would have concerns to share with the mayor and council about co-locating an elementary school with government operations such as we have. I think we would share those concerns with you at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager, for bringing that up. Councilmember Inyang, just so you can see in this rendering in the upper right-hand corner, the space that would be the council chambers. You can see it's a 2-story space, but there is no it's not divided vertically inside.
Got it. And the Public Works I see I had a question if that was 2 stories, but it looks like that's just a 1-story building.
I would say it's a little bit taller than 1 story. It's not sort of one standard story, but it's not a lot more.
It's able to take big trucks, and you could have some storage up high. Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Smith, go ahead.
as you've sort of walked through the stormwater features here, I've become surprisingly even more impressed with what is put together here. I'm wondering if we have contacts with sort of the array of community and environmental groups and things of that nature. I'm thinking of a lot the folks, the advocacy organizations that spoke up around Purple Line construction. Yeah, I just think it could be advantageous for us to, if we have those contacts, or if we can make them, to leverage those folks to get them talking to our delegation and anyone else who has some influence over this project. Would be great if we could work with some of those community groups to get them on that.
Interesting idea. Can you and I discuss that over the next few weeks?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. I'm interested. I think I know what you're talking about, but I want to clarify and see if we can get something going. Any additional council comments or questions? Any public questions or comments? Are there any other items of unfinished business?
The only thing I have to add, I don't know if it's necessarily new business, or unfinished business. I mean, literally it's unfinished. But there's an ongoing conversation about, in the Madison Hill neighborhood, the Parksdale fence gate issue. There's a gate that's there right now. It's partially fixed. And so been in contact with Councilmember Alston's office. The school board is now involved. I think Parks and Planning is now involved. And so we're looking to get a meeting scheduled sometime this week to talk about with park and planning the particular gate, share photos, and hopefully come up with a plan. It seems like there's a consensus that everyone thinks that the gate should be completed, and that hopefully would deter the easy access of students to cut through the area. And so there's nothing for the town to do at the moment, but just wanted to let folks know. And as I hear more, we'll definitely report back and share with mayor, council, and town staff.
Thank you, Councilmember Enyang. I appreciate being included on the emails as this has been getting organized, and I have been monitoring it because I know the residents up there have been very concerned about this, and it would be nice to been concerned about it for a long time.
Yeah.
And so getting a solution would be really great. Any addition, Mr. Town Manager Lysyshyn, go ahead.
I had one question for the mayor and council. We want to arrange a tour of the Riverdale Park Community and Municipal Center project site. Is there a particular day, time? My contact with the Army prefers during the workday. I understand that can be a real challenge for folks that work full-time outside of being an elected official. And so if there's a day of the week that's better, we can do it in 2 groups or 3 groups if we have to. But I believe there's general desire to tour the site. So does anybody have certain days of the week that don't work at all? I plan on talking with the Army Reserve tomorrow.
I would only ask if it could be done before, like, within the next 2 weeks, if at all possible. Flexible on days, early mornings work best for me, but with a little bit of notice, I can make anything work.
The next 2 weeks are not good for me, but I've already had a tour of it, so I think that I can be not an important input on this.
Thursdays and Fridays are best for me, but similar to Councilmember Enyang, with enough notice, I can make it work. And also, I remember it's been more than a decade, but when I was in the Army, we did things pretty early in the morning. So if that needs to happen at that time, I'm willing to do that as well.
I'm out of town next week. I start school the following week. But my school day is early ending usually that first week. So I could be afternoon. I probably would have time the following week, but the 5th through the 12th, I am out.
Okay.
Yeah. Me, probably really the only good days are like Wednesday, Thursdays. And some of them have to be an early morning. Okay. And I would need to let folks know where I'm working. I have to give them heads up 2 weeks prior. So those are my constraints.
Okay. So
Sounds like Thursday morning works for many people. That's what I sort of see as an overlap. Councilmember Callan, are you interested in touring?
You there?
You're muted if you're speaking, Councilmember. Did we lose him? No, there he is. Still can't hear you, Councilmember Callan. Okay, I think we can assume that he will reach out separately if he
And-
wishes to attend.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll try to get 2 dates that fit the 2 dates and time that fit the general concerns or constraints that were expressed.
Okay, very good.
Yes,
Any,
Mr. Mayor, the laptop is giving me problem.
I understand. My
Yeah.
laptop does this to me sometimes too.
So I didn't understand the question you asked.
So the other members of the council are interested in touring and touring the Army Reserve facility, and it seems that many of them can meet Thursday morning. I'm sort of just figuring out the overlap of everyone's availability, and they said early morning on Thursdays. And so I was curious if you if you can make that time, or if there's another time that that
Like
works
what,
for you.
like what time?
I'm guessing that, they said early morning. I'm guessing that it's somewhere in the 7 to 8 a.m. start time.
That is too early for me.
Okay, well, maybe,
Maybe if I don't go, you're gonna represent me.
okay, well, I'm probably not going to make it this week. I'm definitely not going to make it next week, but when Councilmember Foe returns the following week, it might be that I can do an afternoon at
Oh.
that time.
Okay, maybe you will call me or check on me. Both of us can go there and see.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Okay, any additional discussion of this item or any other items of unfinished business?
Well, you said let's wait for August meeting concerning 54th place, 54th Avenue here, Spring Lane, about the light in that curve, the street lights.
Okay.
Yes, the place is too dark.
So
Yeah,
the,
although I'm seeing they making sidewalk over there on the other side, but from Jefferson down to Spring Lane, we need a street light over there because the people are complaining about that.
okay, can town staff investigate this before the August work session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
So town staff will look into that, and we can discuss it at the work session at the end of August.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, sir.
of course. Any additional items of unfinished business?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Councilmember Lingua, go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. More like, as was brought up before, ongoing business really that's going on, and that is the issues over at Riverside Neighborhood Park. I know a resident emailed myself, and I believe it also went to some members of staff, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, my apologies. Regarding maintenance on the field over there, as well as still this far into the season, no restroom facilities of any type at the park. And I was wondering if staff had heard anything from Park and Planning, from the Parks and Recreation Department, as to how they are looking at addressing the issues that have been brought up.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Mr. Town Manager.
Ms. Barnes.
Certainly. We have actually reached out initially. We've actually been getting comments on social media also about the problems at Riverside Neighborhood Park related to maintenance as well as the restrooms. We did reach out directly to the director to just kind of touch base with him, find out if there was anything else the town could do. We have not heard back from him. However, I was in town with the Town Seal Design Committee, and I took several pictures of the park in a just not up to the town standards, and I'll be sharing those with the director this week.
Will you also be asking the director about the status of the soccer field, as it is still posted as being closed due to being under renovation?
Absolutely, Councilman Lingua. That field has been under renovation, I believe, for probably about 4 years now. So that is always on my list. And it's frustrating to not be able to get an answer from anyone, but we will keep working on it.
Actually, it's been 7.
7. I stand corrected.
So
Okay, so
Yeah.
we can hear back on that maybe at the end of August also. And sooner if you get a response, please
Please,
contact.
please, if something comes back soon, please let us know.
Okay, any additional items of unfinished business?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think I forgot one thing.
Okay,
The speed bump on 54th Avenue, speed bump is very important. That speed bump is very important from the church, Riverdale Road down to 54th Avenue to Spring Lane. We need to have a speed bump over there. If you see how people are running in that area, it's very dangerous, man. But when speed bump is there, I think they're going to slow down. And
okay.
many accidents has been happened there.
Okay, there's a process that we need to go through to approve a speed bump. And the council adopted this process many years ago. It still binds us. And so we can start that. You and I should discuss it offline, I think.
Okay.
Mr. Town Manager, you had a comment?
Yes, sir. In addition to the process you're referring to, I believe that's where we're looking for input from the area residents. Director Lewis, I believe, has discussed this with one of our engineers. I think it's actually going to be a recommendation of the engineer. Is that correct, Ms. Lewis?
Actually, that discussion had to do with the new speed hump south of Jefferson, adjacent to, in the area where the new sidewalk is installed because of the curve coming from Spring Lane and the narrower street as a result of the sidewalk installation. So we thought a speed hump would be appropriate there. I have yet to follow up on Councilmember Kellon's request to have a speed hump installed closer to Riverdale Road. We would want to put out the radar device in order to collect some volume and speed data there to help us to determine whether one would be helpful there.
My apologies for having the locationing there.
Okay, well, I hear you. And
Okay.
I think that place is need only 4 speed bump, 4 only. That will slow down the people. Yeah. For Riverdale Road, well, yeah, as soon as a turn on 54th Avenue, 1 speed bump. It go a little bit in front of the rental office, 1 speed bump. It go 1 to this other high-rising building, 1 speed bump, and Jefferson Junction. That's stop sign, 1 speed bump. 4 is enough. Yeah.
Actually,
Go ahead.
yeah, the engineer mentioned while we were out in the field looking at the area south of Jefferson that the Maryland Uniform Traffic Control Device Manual recommends that they be spaced at least 200 feet apart. And so keeping that in mind, that will determine how many speed humps would be appropriate there if the data suggests.
Even it is 2 is enough. If
Yeah.
it is 2 is enough, we will slow down these guys who are running like the crazy. There's a lot of accidents happening here. A lot of accidents, man. If you see some cars, oh man, when they make whoa, shit. So, Mr. Town Manager, how are you?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Town Manager, how are you? I'm greeting you.
Well, I had to ask the mayor if I was able to speak. I am fine, sir.
All right, thank you. Yes. Well, where are we now?
We are, I believe that we are still in unfinished business. Or if there's any more items to discuss, we can discuss those, or otherwise we can adjourn.
Well, I think we'll finish. Where's the others? I'm not seeing all the people now.
There are still at least 4 council members. There's 5th. There's 5 of you still. So are there any other items of unfinished business? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Callan to adjourn. This motion is neither discussed nor debated. I'll move immediately to a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
and Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned at 8:47 PM. Thank you all and have a great couple of weeks. See you at the end of August, if not sooner.
Thank you. I say
Thank you,
that to
everyone.
all of you.
Take care.